Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell drops his demand that Senate Democrats promise to preserve the filibuster, allowing party leaders to move forward in the negotiation of their power-sharing agreement. This comes after two Democrats declared they would not vote to end the legislative filibuster, and unless they backtrack, it should remain in place even while the rest of the party fights to undo it. The filibuster was a key factor in the Senate's last power-sharing agreement 20 years ago, back in 2001, and ensures that a Senate majority will not destroy the rights of minority parties in attempts to pass partisan legislation. Now that McConnell has stepped back somewhat on his filibuster request, the Senate will begin setting the standards for how they will conduct business for the next 2 years to come. With me now to discuss is the Vice President of Government Relations for the Heritage Foundation, Tommy Binion. Welcome, Tommy.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Great. So McConnell only has the word of two Democrat senators at this point, Manchin and Sinema. We know Schumer and the rest of the Democrat leadership want to get rid of the filibuster. So is this enough to preserve it at this moment?
No, I'm very concerned about the safety of the filibuster extended debate, as it's sometimes referred to in the Senate. I was concerned at about a level of a 10. This announcement from these two Democrats took me down to about a 9.99. So we're in trust but verify mode.
Exactly. And how do Democrat leadership like Schumer, for example, how do they plan to abolish the filibuster or bypass it?
Well, the number one way that they would go about it is called the nuclear option. What the nuclear option involves is setting a new precedent in the Senate by 51 votes. So they actually would look at a rule, a standing rule of the Senate that says 3/5 of the Senate need to vote to close debate. And they would say, that looks like 51 votes to us, which I'm not great at math, but most of the viewers are. You know that that's not true. And then they would uphold that ruling by a vote of only 51. That's called the nuclear option. That's the number one way they would go about the filibuster. But look no further than Senator Durbin's remarks this morning on the floor to see an end run around it called reconciliation. They may be able to pass ordinary legislation like Biden's COVID relief package through reconciliation just by stretching those rules to the absolute hilt.
And now I'm starting to see once again Democrats, they're calling this a relic of Jim Crow. Is the filibuster a relic of Jim Crow?
No, the filibuster is one of the most important features of the United States Senate. It is what makes the Senate the Senate. But it also is what separates the country from the most divisive pieces of legislation. Think about it this way. What can pass with 51 votes but doesn't have 60 votes? It is those policy items like gun control, like the Green New Deal, like amnesty, like expanding the Supreme Court, like adding D.C. as a state. Those policies enjoy unanimous support by the Democrats, but are unanimously opposed by Republicans. The filibuster is what protects us from the most divisive pieces of legislation. That's frankly what we need as a country right now, is protection from that most divisive policy.
And how do Democrats, where they even come up with this, calling it a relic of Jim Crow segregation? Where did they even come up with that in the first place?
Well, they look through the history books. They associate it with the time. But it is, it's tactic number one in the Democratic playbook. They will call conservatives racist and see if that charge sticks. That is their very first line of attack, and we've seen that over and over again.
It's so crazy just to see everything that we even have to take seriously at this point. Again, the Green New Deal is back on the table. That's very disconcerting for many of us. But as I look at it now, I remember just a few weeks ago, back when the GOP still had the Senate, back before we lost Georgia, and back when McConnell was still the Senate Majority Leader, I seem to remember Democrats were terrified that he was going to get rid of it. And yet here they are just a few weeks later doing exactly what they claimed that they were afraid of Republicans doing.
McConnell was going to get rid of the filibuster, and I don't think he ever will, because he understands this very well, how important this is. If he was going to do it, he would have done it in 2017 when Republicans were in power in the House, Republicans were in power in the Senate, and Republicans were in power in the White House. That would be the time that Mitch McConnell would have done away with the filibuster. But of course, that did not happen. Now we have the inverse situation with unified power for the Democrats, and nearly every one of them is chomping at the bit to get rid of the filibuster because it is what is stopping them from enacting their very, very radical agenda. It's our last line of defense, and they know it.
Tommy Binion, thank you so much for joining us tonight and for breaking it all down for us.
You bet. Happy to.
Thanks for watching the Heritage Foundation's YouTube channel. With more than 500,000 members, we are the nation's largest conservative research and education institution. We believe the principles and ideas of the American founding are worth conserving and renewing. Please help us further our mission by subscribing to this channel and sharing our videos with your family and friends.